The other day, we got called when we had questions. We had produced then could the question in the meeting whether we could do that. He says we have to be able to run copies real quick. But there's some what other are you talking about?
What's that? So, Big Game Hunt magazine. On these right here. Now they got them in comprehensive. We got the rest of them by 50%. Kill ratio will go up. Page 16. 16. And then just get the rest of them 50%.
You want to give a copy to all the other commissioners and not which copy to all the yes.
What's the difference? If you cut it, they've been saying it all day long, the science says inverse ratio. So the kill's going to go up, they're going to get just as many bucks, everybody will have a better hunt, and they'll have more to
Well, that's why when it came in,
that's what I'm saying. They say that if you were tagged this year, the percentage goes up. So if you cut it by 50%, you get an 80% kill ratio, and you still accomplish what you want to do biologically. Yep. Everybody that draws a tag's happy because everybody gets it.
We had a
I'm an amendment, and we got to say,
well, in area 10.
no, in all other areas, we'll ask them. We'll talk to them. What I'd like to do, well, I think this all areas, all areas, 100%. So we don't need it in here. I gotta save you. I gotta save all 51. So
needs to be reasonable. We get hauled into district court, you reduce everything by 50%. You've got to at least have some evidence that a reasonable mind could use to come to that conclusion. I don't think you have any reasonable evidence to go to 50% or to zero.
I got the graph.
The graphs do not support going to 50%.
What does?
Well, you had some hard science data. I mean, they might justify a small decrease. There's no way that's going to hold up this point. 10%, I might be able to swing.
We won't have. You know, dude, the symbols and oh yeah.
10% would be an actual increase over last year. I'm wrong.
I don't know how you go low.
Okay, so
to show off right now. I just drank that cold. And then check.
My kidneys are really cold. What's that? Did he even get through? Maybe Hank can get
You aren't gonna go.
What's that?
You aren't going.
Well, we're gonna see how it goes. This is stupid. It's a complete waste of time.
Gonna need your vote on some things. what we have here. I'm not sound downright reasonable after that.
I'm starting to understand how those guys scratch.
Too bad Ken Mayer.
Yeah.
It'll be in the record one way or the other. We'll get it straight.
How can you?
Oh, Cecil down there? Cecil Jr.?
I'm saying. Very good trying to change the subject. Just tell me how you can save the population by not killing plus. Just tell me how. Give me all the
Just think what kind of message you get to do that. You don't even have a freaking clue.
Well, it might be their last meeting. Somebody fucking killed them. All I know is
I can't.
If we reduce the number of tags and we jump it up to 50,
that's the total number of tags.
still get just as many deer.
10, 1, 27,
No, that's
You know, we used to get 90%.
all weapons. That's all weapons.
50s.
Oh, you're talking just for the, that's the one that you mentioned on?
Oh, it was over 6,000.
I'm talking about, okay, I 13, I got the number sheet. Aside from the ones we approved, it was 1331.
Oh, okay.
Is
Wasn't that
10,121.
10,121?
Minus, is it also, is it minus?
He's looking at muzzle too, right?
Yeah, muzzle loader.
1,079.
13,779.
And then longbow is 2,479. You want the non-residents too?
That's not 1341.
Yeah, because
1341.
That's resident. Then there's
Okay, non-resident, any legal weapon is 819. Non-resident muzzleloader is non-resident longbow 289.
tags we have included in the credit. We already approved the others.
My Jeep back in there. That's coming in here, some way to get the damn thing out.
Two is landowners.
Three times.
He thinks he doesn't have any phone calls. Wait till he does that to the landowner. That gives out 100 landowner tags. Somebody's going to be pissed. Quite a few.
Did we smart? We contemplated life.
Now I know why I care.
What's up?
We're not going to get it.
Okay, we have 13,679 plus the. How come we have only 1,200 some odd?
We should pull out here.
Non-resident.
13, oh, that'd be about right. 12 plus the archery plus.
No, I meant was, that isn't close to 10%. This is old. This is so good. The combination of this is so good.
I understand.
We're dealing with 12,448 tags. The recommendation from the staff.
Well, there's no reason.
What I think you did on a couple of those areas, a lot of your graphs were fine, but I was looking at the numbers data, and on 10 and 12, there's like 4 columns, there's the total, then there's, no, when you add it up to make those graphs, and then you got in the hunt book, and then that thing has total, and then it has like adults, and fawns, and yearlings. On 10 and 12, you accidentally added the total plus the other, so it doubled.
How would I know that?
Well, no, you just accidentally on those. Most of them you did fine, but on 10 and 12,
What happened then?
I could show. Let me pop one open.
They're shooting everything that you can.
I wouldn't have known that.
They're shooting 4 bighorn.
He wants to tell me in just a second. I need something to write on.
Anything can write.
I need something to write on.
No, I'll just show you. It's not. It's you only did it on some graphs, and unfortunately for you, it was on 10. But here's the mule deer population estimates, right? Okay, so in 1987, 88, 89,
I gotta go back and look, 87, 88, and 89.
yeah, right in that stretch, on area 10, for instance, if the population said 41,000, you also added the 6,000 in this and got up to 70. That 70 that you showed for area 10, you accidentally, but you didn't do it on very many areas, just on 10 and 12. Quota did the same thing. You added these extra numbers into the graph. So that's all. Just some of the graphs.
Yeah.
You didn't. Yeah, I don't know why, but on just some of them, you were adding total. You took the total.
This didn't say total, that's why.
It says population estimate.
Yeah, I didn't.
But on most of them, you just used this number, which was the right number to use. But on some of them,
I had to do it pretty fast.
yeah, okay. Well, that's all why some of the graphs aren't right.
So I added,
Yeah, you added twice, really. You added the males and females again.
estimate, and
Plus males and females or something. So those numbers got almost double is what happened.
together. I gotta go take a look.
So you just need to.
I might like this. That's out of your hunt book.
Welcome back to this meeting of the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners. Yes, Mr. Vogler.
After further discussion with our barrister, he says I can't do what I just did, so I would like to amend my motion.
Now wait, did I say you can't do it, or?
Well, I can do it, but you didn't think it was defensible. First of all, I would like to state that I didn't do it flippantly. I didn't just have some sort of I'm mad at hunters, I'm mad at the Game Commission, I'm mad at everybody, so I'll teach you all a lesson. I've been listening very intently to the science, because I'm not a scientist. Reminded of that every time we have a meeting. Can't even do statistics. Not smart enough. Okay, well, let's just take a look at the facts. If we're going to do a comprehensive study of all the reasons of what's going on in the rubies, I thought I was granting a favor to Mr. Wasley by taking out as many variables as I could. Mr. Brian Stockton says I can't do that. And I have to give a sound reason why I asked for as large a reduction in the rest of the hunts as I did. The scientists have been telling us and showing us in graphs that the success rate is inverse. It has an inverse relationship to the number of tags listed, i.e. the more tags you list, the lower the percentage of take. So I did the hunter that is lucky enough to get a tag. I give him almost a guaranteed hunt. Look at your bighorns. Look at your antelope. They're in the 90 percentiles, 100 percentiles, all of those, because of the tag numbers and the number of opportunities. Now we've got a group of people that don't look for a bigger buck. They shoot the first buck they see because they know they'll probably not see another buck and probably not get another tag for 2 or 3 years. So if you cut the deer herd or the number of tags issued by 50% in all of these hunts, then you will raise the number of hunter success, and so the hunter that draws that tag will be a lot happier than the 75% that don't get an elk tag, just get exercise, or get a deer, they wind up with exercise. So I want to amend my motion at this point that...
Withdraw and restate?
Withdraw and restate, yes, sir. Do you withdraw your, oh, I'm sorry. Does Hal have to be talked to?
Is it all right if he withdraws that?
I'll go along with this.
The seconder of the motion concurs with motion is now withdrawn. Don't remember any motion. I can't remember it because I couldn't restate it if I want to. Please go ahead.
Resident 1331 mule deer antler. Resident mule deer antler muzzleloader 1371. Resident mule deer antlered longbow 1341. Non-resident 1331. Non-resident muzzleloader 1371. Non-resident longbow 1341. I move that we reduce all of these hunts by 50%.
And I will second that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can we have a,
We're having some comment. I saw we have some comment over there, and then Mr. Vice Chairman had a hand. Go ahead, Commissioner Howell.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for clarification, by automatically, by reducing the resident hunts, doesn't that automatically reduce the non-resident hunts? And if you just said arbitrarily 50%, it may come out different with the math, right?
Yeah, it should be pretty close if we do it through the array process. You know, it should carry over to the other hunts. It might be 49.87 or whatever, depending on the actual split.
It wouldn't mess it up that much.
All right, Doug's question. Mr. Vice Chairman, you had your hand up, and then we had another commissioner. Go ahead, Mr. Vice
I was
Chairman.
just gonna make an amendment to the motion, but if somebody wants to go first, you know,
If you want an amendment, go ahead.
You wanna do an amendment?
Let's
Okay.
hear it. There'll probably be a couple dozen, so.
My ultimate goal was to be here when the deer rebound, and they're not rebounding. And, you know, I can see some merit in the motion to stop the season, or now it's not. It would be scientific to do it according to the data to bring the herds back, but, you know, I've done a lot of research in this graph and the graphs that I've done, and after extensive reviewing the scientific information provided to me by NDOW, and you got to look at this area because there's some green areas here that don't need reducing. So my amendment will be this. I move we reduce the quotas for hunt 1331, 1371, and 1340.
41? Yeah, 41. They all end with, everything
Yeah.
ends in one.
1341. That's the rifle, muzzleloader, and archery.
And the corresponding non-resident?
Resident. 1331, 1371, and 1341, I believe.
Do we want the corresponding non-residents included in this?
They're kind of long for the ride.
They go along for the ride. I don't think we need to mention.
Including the corresponding non-resident seasons.
Okay, I move we reduce the quotas for those hunts in Area 4 by 30%, and units 051, Area 15, Area 18, and Area 23 by 40%. These are the ones in the graph that I have. And reduce all other areas by 50%. But I don't think we need to reduce them in this area, in these, where the deer herds are. This is science right out of their book.
Okay, so,
Okay,
well, area 5, you said 51 was no reduction? 051?
No. Area 4 by 30%. Units, 051. Area 15, 18, and 23 by 40%. That's what this graph shows on the population trend.
I'm sorry.
Again?
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I guess I don't understand the connection. I hear Vice Chairman Lent using the word science, saying that's what the science says and that's the scientific approach, but I don't understand the relationship of the graphs he provided to reducing male harvest on population dynamics. I wish you could articulate that,
we'll have
please.
some discussion here, I think, on the subject, I'm sure.
Just asking for just a simple example, like I did earlier with the man's success,
You got a
of
motion?
how you're going to increase the
Need a
deer
second.
numbers by reducing
Yeah,
the buck.
I'm just kind of waiting on the next procedural step in this, which would be,
I would respond to that if you'd allow me, Mr.
we can't discuss a motion if it hasn't been seconded.
until I think I'm gonna second it, but I need to get that read to me one more time. I can't keep up.
Okay, if I got it right, Area 4, which to me includes all the things that start with 04, 04, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's 30.
30%.
All the Area 5s, which is in this 051 early and late. Area 15, 151,
Wait. What, how many percent?
40, right?
40 and 15?
Area 4 was 30%.
Yeah, 30 was, 4 was 30, 5 was 40. 15, 18, and 23, 40, right?
You said 15?
18, 23.
So 40. Okay,
Deer are doing better in there.
okay. Trying to get my mind around some of this. And, I can understand some reductions, I guess, in certain cases, but,
Trying to put the science of what I got from the hunt book into an area here, and I tried to make it in a graphic form so it'd be easy to see, and might have made it worse.
I did second that, Mr. Chairman, by the way.
you did?
After I wrote it down.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded. Let's have some
23.
further discussion. Commissioner Macbeth?
Okay, there's really no basis for that motion. Commissioner Lent, in his own statements, stated that in the last 10 years that basically the populations are flat. The map represents areas that are stable or increasing, as I understand it. That's the green, and the red represents maybe slightly declining populations. Has absolutely nothing to do with the buck population and what these harvest objectives are doing. There's no relationship. There's been no connection made. This is an arbitrary and capricious motion because it has no basis in science or fact, and so it just simply cannot happen. And I am ready to make a amendment to the motion.
Oh, we got, the amendment would be an amendment to the amendment. So let's keep our amendments to the amendments. So let's,
Which amendment we voting on?
further discussion on this amendment.
Which amendment are we?
Well, we only have one amendment out there, and that is the amendment as presented by Vice Chairman.
You got a hand up over here.
Okay, Commissioner Vogler.
Mr. Carr, if I understood, and I listened very intently, more than once, this isn't the first time I've listened to these things. All right. I'm just gonna pick I'm just gonna say we have 100 tags. And you assume that the buck to doe ratio is whatever it is, and ideally, you wanna relieve that unit without harming the doe population or the rebreed by, and I'm just gonna throw these figures out, 25 bucks, but you're gonna issue 100 tags. So the success ratio is gonna be about 25% if you kill 25 bucks out of this pie in the sky unit.
Is 25 the buck ratio or the success rate?
Success rate.
Success ratio.
So you take those, you're gonna get 25% success out of your unit. So if you issue fewer tags, less competition amongst the hunters out there, aren't you gonna raise the number, the successful hunters by that amount? So what's arbitrary about that?
I'm asking the population response. You're trying to save the deer herd, let it grow. I need an example of a deer herd where you kill bucks, you don't kill does, you have survival rates of the bucks and the does,
Okay,
you have fawns being...
but if you're
born.
issuing 4 tags to kill 1 deer, and if you issue 50 tags, and all 50 of them actually get a deer, those hunters are extremely happy with their success, they're extremely happy with their hunt, and they get the deer that you want to take out, aren't they?
No, what you guys are talking about graphs, I don't believe we've had the luxury of seeing any of these graphs that talk about relationships between quotas and hunter success, and I don't believe the science is consistent in that direction. We've often referred to a point of diminishing returns by saturating an area with so many hunters that hunter success can decline. But that, again, isn't a linear relationship that's consistent across all species in all areas at all times. There is no science to document or support what you're claiming in terms of hunter success going up with a decrease in tags.
I was taking what you guys did.
All right.
We didn't say that. We said it was an inverse relationship between percent 4-point or better and hunter success.
All right. Well, it'd be a little bit of a stretch to say there was no science. I mean, that's something I've learned about biology. There's a lot of science that says a lot of things, and sometimes it's contrary. I'll throw out a couple concerns here, specifically just trying to come up with something reconciliatory, which is somewhat at times difficult in life. Let me throw out something here. You know, population in Area 5 in general isn't doing that bad. If we're going to do some reductions, wouldn't it be included in the whatever the least reduction is in Area 5? Wouldn't that be included? That would just be one. I would think that the other areas that are relatively stable. Let's say if we're going to, for example, if it was going to go like it's talking now with this current amendment, and there's 3 stages of different reductions. First one may be a little or whatever. The lightest one would probably include definitely Area 5 as well as 4. And then we really need 40% in that second stage, or is that just a question? And, you know, is that a real number we'd want to use? I'm just throwing out those certain little questions there. Trying to get my mind around the data here. You know, and I can understand a lot of this. This would help specifically the quality of deer hunting in many units, with some reductions. Quality of hunts, because you'd have less people out there. Okay, go ahead. Interject my rambling, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a question, and they say that there's no science, but there's a rancher in Utah, Raymond Heaton, and I don't know if anyone knows about him. He was on the Utah State Wildlife Board for 6 years or so. He has a 50,000 acre ranch, and you'll have to pronounce that for me, on the Ponquanut Game Unit in Utah. And he got it closed for 3 years, and the deer really came back. It's now a world-renowned area. It's one of their best areas. And now they're overhunting it again with too many different seasons, muzzleloaders, archers, etc. in late season. There's too much hunting pressure. Overhunting was one of the main reasons for the loss of deer in that area. And so now they're saying that hunting doesn't affect it.
And they also closed an area called Vernon in Utah for 3 years, and the deer came back, and that's one of their best units now. They got 35 buck runner does, 70 to 80 fawn survival now, and it worked. So this closing the season has worked in Utah on a couple areas, and so there are areas out there in other states where close the season or drastically reducing has worked. So don't tell me that there's no science that says killing bucks increases the season, doesn't increase the season, because it's worked in other states. And I don't know if you guys get around to them, but I've got some absolute testimony that there's some science out there maybe no one's looked at.
Science must involve a control.
All right.
Treatment and control. Where's the control?
All right. Now, there's a couple things I know that might be some of the scientific basis for this. I'm just trying to think of some of the things we've been reading about. And not necessarily at these levels or defending any particular level, but some energetic stress is increased by more pressure over some of any kind of pressure, whether it's hunting pressure or extra fences or
No evidence of that either.
whatever. There's a lot of talk about that in a lot of things. I don't know how much, it'd be hard to quantify in this case, but so I think that might be some of what you're talking about, I would think, but I don't know. We had comments over here from Commissioner Cavan before we get voting on this particular amendment to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand these concepts that have come up today, but they should have come up long before today so that we could get some input. But I guess we're beyond that because the input is, we're not going to get that. But to answer Mr. Vogler's question, the cabs over a long period of time have kind of come up with what they want in their counties for hunting quality, for numbers, all of those kinds of parameters. I think the Washoe County guys, they want higher buck ratios so that they can have a higher quality hunt, have bigger bucks. We're seeing the same thing like up on Mount Rose. Got high trophy quality. People want to keep that. But for someone to come in and say, okay, we're going to change all of this stuff that's gone on for years and years that people are generally happy with, I think that's beyond the purview of what we should do today. The other thing that is going to change drastically hasn't been brought up yet, but when we cut if these things get cut drastically, and this is pointed toward you a little bit, Hank, if you look at the last page here, page 23, the landowner tags are going to get cut drastically. And I have a feeling you're going to have the phone ringing off the hook when every landowner in the state gets cut by 50%. So that hasn't been brought up. I just wanted to make sure that that was a part of the consideration here. And I just don't see how. I'm going to address Mr. Lentz's comments. He said the green didn't need to be reduced, but then in his motion, he reduced it. So I think we need to clean things up here before we move forward. Make sure we're considering all of the ramifications of what's going on here.
All right. You can restate it if you'd like. Okay, Commissioner Vogler has a comment if you'd like to.
I'd just like to respond to Mr. Cavan, and it's not personal, it's just, I already know about 5 landowners that don't get a landowner tag anymore because the deer that they've been feeding in their alfalfa field it's just gone. My neighbor used to get 3 of them, and now he can't, and nobody wants to buy them because there's no quality bucks in the area.
As long as you're aware of the situation,
I
that's all
understand that.
Okay, Mr. Vogler, please. Mr. Vogler?
That was it. Just Mr. Cavan. I don't know where this stuff comes from. I talked to everybody that represents the White Pine Cab, and there's everywhere they look, they're saying the guides are saying they're not seeing the deer. And this would have been a perfect winter down there to get the most accurate count ever on the total number of deer, because the snow was deep and those deer had to come down off of those mountains. They were not scattered in their little groups on south faces all the way from 112 to down to the Cleveland Bench where they usually go. I mean, they were concentrated. It should have been, but everybody over there saying, man, there's no deer, there's no quality of bucks, everybody's shooting the first deer they see, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just saying, if you reduce the number of tags, the success ratio of each individual person will go up. There'll be fewer hunters chasing deer, and your buck-doe ratio shouldn't be hurt that bad, but the success will go up. People will get a better quality buck, and they'll be going, hey, this is a great hunt. Now, the ones that don't, I've been disappointed for about 3 years out of 4 that I don't get a tag.
Me too.
So I didn't just thought, I'm going to really get everybody fired up and then I'm going to run out and jump my pickup and head for Ely. I think it's a serious discussion we're having here.
Okay.
I didn't see.
Hold on.
Can I just make a
Let me
quick
throw in
response, Mr. Chairman?
one thing, and then you can have a rebuttal.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to, I'm once again trying to grasp my mind around some of these things. So I can see there's a couple arguments here, just so I can try to summarize them. And one of the main arguments here is that one argument has to do with population, and another perhaps larger argument that is being made for this is that about the quality of the hunt and the quality of the animals that are out there to improve the age structure. That appears to be the arguments that are being put forth. Okay, I'm just trying to clarify these. Commissioner Cavan, redress.
I just want to state that if there's all this uproar out there, they need to come to the cabs. That's our sounding board. Each commissioner gets their comments from being out in the field, going to wildlife functions, going out to dinner. I've had discussions of Nevada wildlife at a bar in Mexico from someone who I had no idea was from Nevada. So, I mean, I understand that we get this input, but the input from the commissioner to those folks should be get involved with the cab so that we know what their concerns are. And then the cabs are supposed to bring those forward to us. If White Pine County came to us and asked us for a recommendation, which they did, there's one here, and it's a very small change, I'm all in favor of it. Not a problem. But to just go carte blanche across the board is way off the map.
Okay, Mr. Vice Chairman, you had something?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The commissioner from Carson City, when he says the hunters are happy, they're not. That is absolutely not true. I don't know where he hunts, but in Washoe County, we talked about it, and in 015, if we shut the season down, they'd be the happiest group in the world. 015 has no deer, and that should be shut down. And there's a lot of Washoe County, even the cab members agree to that. And so that we do have a lot of disgruntled hunters out there. I hear it every day. There's no deer. There's no deer. There's no deer. And it's not that they expect 200,000 deer in the state, but if you're out there with sportsmen, you're going to hear that there's no deer. What happened to our deer? And this is an attempt to try to bring the deer back and to say, well, we're going to harvest the same amount of bucks. Well, we're losing ground here because a lot of these areas are going down, 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 and we don't stop something and do something about it. We're not going to have any deer left in 20 years or less. And that's very critical. And so, I'd be willing to redo the motion to a lesser amount if that's what the commission wants.
Well, if you want to redo the motion,
the amendment, I meant.
If you want to redo the amendment, go ahead. And then we'll discuss the redo. Let's see what he's got for a redo. A proposed redo of his current amendment.
I gotta hear it before I agree with it.
I know.
You got to retract the second on that.
Well, let's hear your proposed redo, and we'll see if the second agrees with the proposed redo.
Well, if I do it, I'm going to add to have a no hunt in these areas down here. There's no science in these areas. They haven't surveyed them for 10 years, and you can't tell me they've got science to put 221, to kill 221 deer in there. So if I do it, I'm gonna add that we stop the seed in those areas that I have white on my map.
Okay, one thing about that, we shouldn't stop, just as a general thing, we shouldn't stop any particular season, even, because we gotta leave some sort of quota in there, even if it's very
Where's
low.
the science? You're supposed to set, we're supposed to set season by science. There's zero science if they're using the prior year's harvest data. That's not science.
Well, according to NDOW, it's not science, but it, I don't know. Anyways, Commissioner Capurro.
Mr. Chairman, to kind of expound upon what I'd asked earlier in that, you know, on each of these species that we went through, you'll recall, I brought the question to staff about the fact that the increase in the population was roughly equal to the proposed increase in the tags that were offered. Didn't I? That worked in every species except deer. We have a 1.8% increase in deer and a proposed 10.25% increase in tags. What I'm going to say is, let me finish this and you talk all you want to. I don't agree to cut it as drastically as been proposed here, but I think we do need to get a start on doing something to restore a rebuilding herd in the state of Nevada. And in the furtherance of that, if you deal with this other amendment, I'm prepared to bring another amendment or amend the amendment or however, wherever we are now, I don't know.
All right, let's deal with the amendment as it stands. Does everybody understand the amendment? Okay, more discussion of the amendment. And then we'll get back to the main motion, and then we can work on that.
First of all, I agree with Commissioner Cavan on everything he's been saying. But Commissioner Lent indicated that the Washoe County Advisory Board wants to eliminate the Unit 015 hunt. And I'm looking at the recommendations for the cabs, and this is what it says. Washoe, Unit 014 early, add 3 tags for a total of 68, and in 014 late, subtract 3 tags. So at absolute no change, it just moved 3 tags around. And so I'm at a loss to understand how a representation could be made before this commission that the Washoe County Advisory Board wants to close 015, and yet it's not in their recommendation.
Okay. I think the words were members, but I don't remember. Okay, we have a motion and a second to make, we'd just be voting on an amendment at this point. We'd like to see, so, trying to think of the original motion, and then this is the amendment. The amendment would then make it, instead of 50% across the board, it would make it 30 and 40 in some units and 50 in the rest. So, all in favor of the amendment to the main motion, to amend it to say that, signify by raising your hand. All right, and opposed? Okay, 4-4. Now I'm thinking about this. Yeah, there you go. This is clearly a more reasonable option than the first option in my mind. So I'll go ahead and we'll approve that amendment. So bring back to the main motion. So the motion passes 5-4 with Commissioners Capurro, Wallace, Cavan, and Macbeth opposed. Hopefully you guys, as I was thinking, you guys would like that amendment better than the main motion. But anyways, let's go with it. But now, this is what we have for a basis. Do we have another amendment, Commissioner Capurro?
Yes, sir.
To the amended main motion.
What I would propose to you is I really do believe we do need to start on the process. I don't think we can shock the system that much to do it. But I do think we do need to start on the process of rebuilding And that would, number one, if we reduced it even just 10%, we're simply reducing it to last year's deal. I would propose to you an overall decrease of all units of 15% as an amendment to the amendment, or whatever it is.
To the amended motion.
Yes.
Second, so that we can discuss.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded to amend the main motion that all units across the board, and we're talking all the rest of the deer seasons have not been priorly addressed, being the junior and the depredation